This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
So it was a fantastic day last week. I'd like to introduce Davida Echetabu. But before I do that, let me start, Vida.
Yes, sir.
Permit me to begin on a personal note. There's a statement on your profile. It says a lover of growth and prosperity and has strong relationship with the truth. So
Yes.
Growth, prosperity, and truth. How do you connect all of this?
Again, it's about balance. It's a 360 degree. So if you're not growing, essentially you're dying. There really isn't any middle ground. So you're either moving forward or you're going backwards. Prosperity, again, we would say very easily the opposite of prosperity is poverty. And it doesn't always have to be a financial type of prosperity. We can be prosperous in our spirit, souls, and bodies. And there are many ways to dichotomize that conversation. While the truth, I am really big on the truth, consistency, and the God factor is a big part of my life.
Fantastic.
Yes.
You know what, listeners? It was deliberate. I decided that you must hear that voice before I make the proper introduction. So now, who is Davida Echetabu? Topic is wealth creation and man. Are we all gold diggers? Profile. Vida is the consultant general of the Fourth Avenue Limited, a wealth creation and financial services expert with experience in wealth creation and management. Davida Echetabu was the regional wealth and business development manager of Stanbic IBTC pension managers. Now, Vida.
Yes, sir.
I promised listeners today that I will start the program with a quote, and the quote for today it is better to inherit the gratitude of your father than his building. I'd like you to put that somewhere aside. At the end of the program, I will take some. It will be interesting to hear a lady give us an African or Nigerian proverb, and then we'll take your best song in the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
But just write that down because I want to relate it as much as I can to the conversation of today.
Noted.
I take it again. It is better to inherit the gratitude of your father than his building. Why do I say so? Wealth, in my own interpretation, is income not spent. I had a debate last week around that. We discussed that. It is hard though. Wealth is hard because it requires a lot of self-control.
Yes.
And then savings, if you like, rich, is the gap really between your ego and your income. These are my interpretations. But you're an expert, a subject matter expert in those areas. And we are going to go into it. The first question I would like to ask you, because I look at you, in you I see a girl child, well educated, and I dare say cultured, riding on a career path with all the challenges you may have seen along the path.
Yes.
Now, is that normal? Is that regular? What foundation should parents lay down for a girl child?
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show, Doctor. I do not take this lightly, and thank you for all the opportunities that all the people listening in are also going to benefit from this. The girl child, interesting. Okay, so maybe I throw a little bit of my personal background. I am the last child of 6 children.
Okay.
And by extension, the last girl as well. So I grew up in a family that we were not amazingly rich, but I also know that we were not abjectly poor.
Okay.
My parents were civil servants, my father with federal and my mother with state. I've enjoyed both the benefits of affluence to some degree. My father was a career diplomat at some point.
Okay.
And I've also experienced significant lack, again, because the conversations around wealth creation, sustainability, managing finances were not very popular back in the day. So I would just assume that he didn't have a lot of knowledge with which to make sure that his retirement days were, in the most comfortable way. So I've experienced both ends. However, as a girl child and talking about family, I grew up where I was encouraged to speak up, to ask questions. it's a privilege these days to have a home where there is a daddy and a mommy present. I grew up with that, a daddy and a mommy present. I also had the opportunity of working, my first job was in the same company, but it was a group. So I cut across. So I had some balance, some gravitas to some degree, if I could say that. Again, it wasn't all rosy.
We'll get to the challenges, because I was very deliberate when I asked that question. By the way, listeners, you can get us on our WhatsApp number 09092 172973. I take that again, 09092172973, and then at Classic FM 973. You can send in your messages. I'm very sure my guest, Davida Echetabu, I'll get that name eventually before the end of the program.
Maybe I'll give you expo.
I'll get that name. Now, Vida.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is rich and what is wealthy? In one sentence you hear rich, in that same sentence you hear wealthy. People, my own interpretation is that money talks, but wealth whispers.
Yes.
And I take that again, money talks, but wealth whispers. That is my own interpretation. But for the benefit of listeners out there, what is the difference between being rich and being wealthy?
Okay. Let me even just add to that your last statement. There is even a wealth that doesn't whisper. It just shows up and the whole atmosphere changes. We know that wealth arrived without saying anything.
Is it a spirit?
It is a spirit. It is a spirit. Okay, so to answer the question with regards to whether there is a difference or a rich versus wealthy conversation, and a lot of times in our conversations, both are used interchangeably. And again, because at the end of the day, we are gunning for communication and not necessarily for perfection of definitions. So I'll give this example. It's an illustration from something that actually happened. Many years ago, I was within the premises of my previous employer. And by this time, I was middle management. I would just say, okay, maybe I'd entered management proper. So I was a deputy manager. And then there was a young employee, less than a year. While we're standing on the premises, one of the managing directors, smooth, clean BMW drove in.
Okay.
And BMWs, they have presence.
Do they?
They command attention. They look at me, look at me.
Power. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So the young man, said, I will have that car in 2 years. I looked at him and I asked him if he thought that the managing director who owned the car used that same car when he just started his career. And he said, no, it doesn't matter that, he can have the car in 2 years. Well, the little I could do at that point was to advise the young man that there were many equally ambitious, aggressive people like him who were cooling off somewhere in Ikoyi that was not Ikoyi Club. And so he should be careful. And the reason I say that is to answer the question. It's possible that people can come into sudden money.
Okay.
Again, with all the opportunities that the internet prefers these days, and people are really digging into their skills and talents. However, a wealthy person would have the mindset of retention and growth of those funds, whether it's by multiplication or by addition. However, that young man was thinking more of riches because he was looking at the trinkets and trimmings that would shout, I have money, or I suddenly have money. So between rich and being wealthy, it's mostly a mindset thing of, wanting to retain and grow that which you have.
Fantastic. So let's take wealth. How much of that has to do with inheritance?
You know what? You can inherit a lot of money, a lot of assets, financial assets, and the assets that money can buy. However, if you also are not wealthy in the elements of wealth that money cannot buy,
which are?
Intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, your health, your social skills, your divine quotient. all those things can actually deplete and destroy whatever financial wealth you have. However, with those things, you can actually create financial wealth. But financial wealth alone does not necessarily translate to those things.
Fantastic. Listeners, I hope I'm not the only one enjoying this. Like I said, you can reach us on our WhatsApp line, 09092172973 and at Classic FM 973. Now, I hear you say divine quotient, isn't it? Because I know all other quotients very well.
Yes.
But I'm hearing some emphasis on divine quotient.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that I give an illustration. I know I worked really hard to get to where I got to in my career.
Okay.
But I'm also aware that I am certain that there are many people who work harder than me on the surface of the earth, whether in my career or in other careers, who did not get to where I got to. And of course, clearly where I got to is nowhere close to where I'm going. And the reason I say this is because it's the God factor. My strong, and it's a very personal thing to me, my strong belief in the fact that the hand of God carried me through a lot of things. There are people who also made financial decisions.
So it's not just about luck, because luck is when endeavor meets preparedness.
Well, that's even a dodgy thing. What if one village demon sent on steroids comes and distracts the luck?
Oh, there's something like that.
Well, it is so possible. This is Nigeria.
But I hear people say that you create wealth, but I never hear them say I never hear them say you manage rich, but they say you manage wealth. Why don't people say you manage rich?
Well, again, because now if I look at it from the context of that question, rich is one level.
Okay.
Wealth is a different level. So let's just say, to paint a picture, wealth is rich on steroids. You know, wealth is the top.
Wealth is rich on steroids.
You know, so when you're rich, you know, you're still hustling. When you're wealthy, you're not hustling. At least you don't appear to be hustling. The money is working. And it is a journey. It is a journey, actually.
It's a journey.
Yes.
A long one for
There's no destination to wealth, actually. We keep making an effort to acquire some wealth. If we're not trying to acquire it in the financial, we're trying to acquire it in other ways. The people who have hit certain very robust financial positions are now thinking about legacy.
Yeah.
You know.
So talking about journey it takes me back to those questions, the intelligent quotient and the acumen that comes with it.
Yes.
Aside, the emotional intelligence comes with it. But the other part is the capacity, you know, because when I look at men, and when I say men now, I'm talking about in the context of the human, both man and woman.
Yes.
I think what will drive whatever you inherit is that intelligent quotient, the emotional intelligence. But you must have some curiosity, you know, intellectual curiosity. And if you like contemporary relevance, to understand what the time is.
Yes.
Otherwise, this rich may never have the steroid to take it to wealth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's always going to be a function of many moving parts. So at some stage in one's career, they are, you know, building, putting in things, you know, they're just starting their career. They don't have a lot of, you know, financial wealth, but that is the time where they can build on their wisdom quotient, their intellectual capacity. That's the time they can also start investing in their social network, their social capacity. You know,
fantastic. We'll dig into that. There are, you seem to have hit a lot of chord. I'm seeing on the screen T.Y. Marcus. He's saying, I'm enjoying this analysis of wealth and riches. Thank you, Vida. But the T.Y. Marcus never said thank you to me. She, I think it's a lady, isn't it? She said, no progress without God in the cycle. You had said that as much.
Yes.
And then wealth is a marathon, and someone else is saying rich is a sprint. Again, you know, that is another way of saying those things you have said, you know. So who relates more with wealth creation, man or woman? and who, from inception, as a girl child is growing up or a boy child, which of them is looking at that window through telescope and not through the window?
Okay. So let me just say that through my career, I never looked at myself when it came to the hard facts as I'm a girl, so I can't show up in a certain place. I just saw myself as a wealth manager. I had appointments to meet my clients, and I will hold my own. And because I managed clients in the high net worth space, when I sit in front of you, at that point in time, with every level and sense of respect, I believe that I'm at par with that person I'm sitting in front of. I have access to your financial records to some degree.
Okay.
So there is a measure of trust you have bestowed on me. You have created time on your schedule to have a conversation with me, so it means I'm important. And so at that point, I'm not really looking at the gender difference. I'm just looking at, this is a job that needs to be done. These are conversations that need to be had. And success really is not, it doesn't differentiate in terms of gender, really, it doesn't.
Yeah, fantastic. Now I can see now TY has balanced it. She's saying, thank you, Dr. Ken. I take that. And there's another message there. He's saying that talking about riches and wealth, how can a 1 million naira man become a billionaire? I'm sure in the course of this conversation, we will take that. But now, Vida,
yes, sir.
Does wealth have components? Because I read about this, because I didn't want to be tottering for balance when I came to this program. So this installment of the discourse today, I didn't want to totter for balance, so I read it up very well. Not that I don't know how to move rich to wealth, but I read it up very well. And I decided I must ask this question. I know that wealth has components. Do you want to speak to that? How can you break down these components?
Okay, so there is a broad range, and there are different components to that. We can look at wealth from the position of health.
Okay.
We can look at wealth from, even in the financial, aspect, what makes up one's wealth portfolio. So maybe I should focus a little bit more at this point in time on the financial basket.
Okay.
What types of investments are you interested in? What's your risk appetite? What type of savings do you have that would also enable you enter certain areas? I have a personal thing that I say, if you do not understand something, you shouldn't be investing in it. Now, if you have not understood it...
Because there's a difference between knowing and understanding.
Yes. So it's possible that at the kickoff point, you really don't understand anything about that place of interest.
Okay.
And that's okay. However, you can learn about it and then make an informed choice. But if at the end of the learning, the thing is still like Greek to you, then I suggest that you find places where you really have an understanding of what's going on there. If not, you're going to permanently need an interpreter to help you understand what's happening with your money. You might never really know whether you are making progress or whether you're not. Is it the time to pull in or pull out? And if you don't mind, I'll give you a little story here. When I started my career,
okay,
I started working in 2006, and 2007, I was in an investment space.
Okay.
I didn't know so much about the principles of investment. I mean, I was fresh from NYSC, so that was when I was meant to be learning. But I saw people who appeared to know what they were doing. And so I was just copying them.
Okay.
They sounded intelligent. Everybody was just, dropping things. And a lot of it had to do with stocks and shares.
Okay.
At that time, the equity market was booming. Buy this penny stock, do this, and everybody was just sounding sharp and smart. And so, every month, how much was my salary then? The small money I had left, I would go and buy some shares of some sort. And then the market, of course, went boom between end of 2007 into 2008, and then the scales fell from my eyes. I realized all those people did not have a clue what they were talking about. And I was just following because it sounded intelligent. That after then, I told myself that, one, I would never put all my savings in an investment alone. Because I actually had done that. I had no cash savings anywhere. Everything was going into buying shares. So when the market went bust, I had to start again from the very beginning. It was a very humbling time for me. I walked carefully on the streets of Lagos so I don't break anybody's eggs. I couldn't afford to replace eggs, but it was good that it happened to me then because it afforded me the opportunity to make that U-turn at that time.
Fantastic. There are a lot of messages coming in. Again, the WhatsApp number is 090-921-72973 and at Classic FM 973. Now, I think Urola has just summarized a couple of things you've said. She's saying, if I understand Vida correctly, you are saying that rich is just like a seed to grow wealth. You said that much, but let me write on that submission, because I know, Vida, that indecision is a decision.
Yes.
I tell people, during the course of my career, sitting in front of me and I see that the person is all over the place, I say, listen, indecision is a decision. Yes. So does this impact of decision or indecision, what is the consequence of this to tell on ability to create wealth?
Okay, so, sometimes it also pays to hold back a little bit. But, holding back is different from an indecision. Because when you choose to hold back, you are intentional about holding back on a decision. Now, indecision is quite like procrastination. You would never know till you try. There is no 100% crystal ball out there.
Okay.
Which is why a lot of people, they want to get the returns, but they are not willing to take the risk. And so they keep dilly-dallying, what if not? It will not end anywhere positive. Okay. You would just remain on that same fence with the same numerical value, which might have actually depreciated over time, because that's where we now start talking about the time value of money.
So like Nike says, just do it.
Just do it.
Fantastic. You know what? I have this. My people tell me that when the sleep becomes sweet, snoring follows. But I'm very sure you cannot snore on this topic. When we come back, I get you back online and live with Davida Echetabu. We'll take a break. Please hang in there.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Welcome back. Thanks a lot,
Thank you
listeners, for hanging in there. I want to believe that this is a very, very interesting topic. It affects all, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are a billionaire or a millionaire. Talking about poor, Vida, in your own understanding, what is poverty? Do they have dimensions?
Poverty has levels, so.
Please.
There are some that wear agbada, and then there are some that still wear stilettos with lipstick.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so let me just say that I'm just going to take a stab at this and say, very generally speaking, the people who are on this call listening, a good number of them would fall within what I would what is called the MPI, Multidimensional Poverty Index.
Okay.
In preparing for this conversation, really, I had to think pretty robustly. And according to NBS, and this conversation is not really about throwing statistics out there, no. But this is important so that we can all somewhat find a way to peg it all back to ourselves. About out of every 10 households, 6 households are actually dealing with multidimensional poverty.
Is it that bad?
It is. In fact, it's said that 63% of Nigerians are actually dealing with that. And
so how do these people process this conversation around wealth creation then?
Okay, so
because a man who doesn't have clothes or is not wearing clothes do not put his hand in the pocket.
Well, that's a very deep graphic illustration, but it's true. And let me just explain within this context what multidimensional poverty is. It's that more and more people, 6 out of 10 households, now aggressively use the opportunity cost to know what to knock off, what to adjust in order to make ends meet.
So there must be clear definition between need and want.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, now more than ever. Now people used to go to the supermarkets to window shop and see, oh, this is nice, and you buy it. Now, the last time I entered the supermarket, I noticed a lot of people paused fully at, counters or at shelves, trying to make a decision on which item to buy, which was not what we used to do. Nigerians would just pick, and, we go. Now you see people, male and female, standing, and you know that they are not just looking at the wrappers. They are computing what's in the bank balance, how they can adjust, and what they need to get.
Some mini cost-benefit analysis.
Yes, so maybe the only people who are not having to do a lot of opportunity costing would be the 1% of the 1%. But I doubt that they are not even feeling if they are not feeling the heat, they are getting warm.
They should feel it, because the situation really, listen, again, I like these proverbs. They say, if the eye starts tearing, the tears start rolling, then the nose too will start running.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
It has reached that stage.
It has. It has. So maybe people outside of the 1% of the 1% are feeling the heat, but definitely the 1% people are getting really warm as well.
Yeah.
They cannot be detached from the situations.
Fantastic. Now, when I listen to Nigerian songs, especially the contemporary ones, they speak a lot to this world. Yes. Does any come to your mind, and why do they kind of draw inspiration from world? Because these days it's very popular to hear them. When you go to our pop culture, it's all about world and world. So where do they draw this inspiration from? Does anyone come to mind to you?
So while I'm not typically on the very major aspect of social graffiti, however, for this conversation, Rich Till I Die, I think Chris Daniel, Kiss Daniel. Yes, somebody is either kissing or kissing,
it's
one
Kiss,
of the two. Yes. His song is quite poignant. And listening to that song alone, just hearing it, I could deduce, maybe extract some 5 to 7 points on the wealth journey. Yes.
Fantastic, Vida. Now, Siamese twins of inflation rates, because, listen, you just dragged me into the economics of it. You can be rich, you can transcend to becoming wealthy, but listen, the Siamese twins of inflation rates, and interest rates.
Yes.
Any nexus to provide poverty and wealth creation?
You see those twins? Maybe sometime in the next life we'll find a way to separate them fully. Yes. But it's really a challenge. Currently, inflation rates are sitting in the corridors of 22.4. Interest rates are typically sitting around, let's say, 12%. Of course, these are very generally, picked figures. And so by the time you're dealing with inflation of 22 and interest returns of about 12, you see breakfast has been served. One has gobbled up one without doing anything. But would we now say, because of that, we will do nothing? No. We will still make an effort. In Igbo, we will say, Iga bambo.
Okay.
You will still, you still bera in Yoruba. You will get up, you will ginger, you will hustle. You do what you need to do. And so where it comes to managing inflation rates versus the returns, then we cannot but advocate a diversified portfolio. So you cannot at this point be 100% money market fixed income, type of investor. Again, because you need to have a portfolio that, gives you opportunities that would help you hedge and manage the deficiencies that the inflation rate is inflicting on a portfolio.
Okay, but I hear this portfolio. This portfolio, is it for people in the A, B socioeconomic class, or can people in the C1, even up to D, E, have some kind of portfolio? What does portfolio mean to these people?
Okay.
Do they have the right to think about wealth creation?
They have a right to. They have a right. They will not remain in the D and C and the E and the F positions.
I thought I should ask.
They won't remain there. Time is passing, and there are opportunities every day. Even in this economy that appears so tight, people are still finding niches that need to, be filled, and there are people who would still pay if it's well provided and presented. Everybody should be thinking wealth, not, thinking only about where they are. If you don't plan for tomorrow, well, life will happen to the person. So, portfolio is a name or a term that really just covers all your
Because if
assets.
you have a yam ban, that's a portfolio.
That is a portfolio. Because in that yam ban, you have yam for eating, you have seed for planting. You can actually trade some of the yam as well. You can process some of the yam and make another product.
So what would be ungodly is to eat all the yam in your yam ban?
No, like we say, God will not let us eat our seed.
Okay.
We're meant to eat the bread and plant the seeds.
Fantastic, Vida. Now, who is trying to reach you? Yinka Johnson. He says, good day to you and your girls, the wealth manager especially. Please ask her what are the easiest and best strategies to build wealth. We get to that. Is it better to invest in real estate? We get to that. I know that will come up today. Is it real estate or stock? That will come up today. So Vida, prepare for that. At some point we are going to discuss that. So which is better really, savings or investment in these circumstances?
Oh wow.
In these circumstances, because you just said it, things are hard, criminally hard. If I can use that word.
Yes.
In fact, it's difficult, at some point people could afford to draw catapult, like they say. Well, now you can't even draw the catapult, because if you draw that catapult, overdraw it, either the bird flies away or hits your thumb. So which is better now for anybody who has that portfolio, whether it's a yam ban or a billionaire? Is it savings or investment in these current circumstances?
Okay, so let me just throw a rhetorical question and then I'll answer. It's like asking, is a boy child better than a girl child, or is a girl child better than a boy child? You can't separate both.
Okay.
You really can't. The way I say it, investment is the offspring of savings. So you need to even start saving something, so that when opportunities for investments come up, you have something to put in there. So it's not necessarily a case of one is better than the other. At every point in time, truly, everybody ought to have a savings and also have an array, or at least an array that is tailored to their own risk appetite, their own exposure levels, and what they're comfortable with. So a portfolio, back to that magic term, should be a combination of, savings and investments. And both can also be still further diversified.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So you just need a bit of wheel balancing.
Oh, an alignment.
And even now you have to introduce alignment.
An alignment.
So you see, when we talk about wealth today and riches, it's no longer just for the rich in the Nigerian or even international context. Whatever that you have, there's an asset. You have to manage it somewhat. So you must find a way to acquire this know-how and the acumen to do so.
Yes.
Otherwise, it becomes perilous, isn't it?
Yes.
So, what are other non-financial components of wealth? Because I hear you spoke a lot about the financial components of wealth. Are there non-financial components of wealth?
There are. There really are. So, when I was preparing again, I had some time I invested in preparing for this conversation. There are, in my opinion, three broad things that play significant roles in wealth creation. the conversation so far has been talking about individuals, and how, these principles and conversations affect us as individuals. But if we want to have widespread, wealth, because when you're the only rich man in your family, you're actually very poor. Everybody's coming for you. Okay. And so whatever you thought was a lot is no longer a lot, because you're essentially a fountain. Everybody is just sapping everything, black tax. Now, to have widespread wealth, I would look at three things, which I say CDT.
CDT?
Yes.
Okay. What does that mean?
Collaboration.
Okay.
Delayed gratification.
Okay.
And trust.
Okay. I'm interested in the delayed gratification.
In fact, that one is the spiciest of the three.
Yeah.
And I thought about it and I said, that singular element, delayed gratification, can be the one fundamental reason why the poor remain poor.
Wow.
Yes. It is difficult to do something with, and this is with every sense of respect, but with these conversations need to be had. When a poor person, needs something, or they want their money back or something, there's really it almost appears there's no sense of patience, no restraint, very limited ability to delay the gratification. It almost becomes, gangster in a manner of speaking. Let's just throw back to when there was the drive towards a cashless society recently.
Yeah.
We saw tons and well, I don't know if it's the same one, but we saw a number of videos go viral of people going to strip in banking halls. And I can assure you that the people that were stripping were not the middle class or upper middle class or even lower middle class. They were typically...
for them, shall give me my wealth.
Exactly.
Just give it back to me.
Exactly. So imagine collaborating on an opportunity with somebody who has that possibility, the potential of that, and expecting to make progress. It's not possible. Because the agreements that were, agreed on, the points that were agreed on from the beginning regarding investments and, the wealth creation, somebody's just going to wake up one morning and call you a bad name and scream and do something, really, really dramatic, and all of a sudden you have to break that investment, pay the person off because you don't want issues, and that leads to the last part. Trust is broken. Now, another aspect of it is, in the course of my career, I know I can't count the number of upwardly mobile senior, middle, senior, and top executives who kept saying, Vida, they have money. They want to do some investments. They want to, they want to do stuff. But their fingers have been burnt. In fact, it went beyond fingers. Their whole hands were burnt and cut off. Because trust was lacking. They had, maybe done something with somebody at some point, and those people ran the business to the ground or made away with their money.
And what should have been wealth evaporated, isn't it?
Yes. So, again, it brings us back to these things. So, if we look at this, the line of this conversation, we can see that the financial part, the money part, is not really the problem. It's the other non-financial parts of character, trust, credibility, and collaboration.
Okay.
We say this a lot. Nigerians have an ability to be very secretive.
Okay.
Even to ourselves.
Is it ability or a tendency?
It is a tendency, it's a skill, and it is, in fact, it has Harvard degree. So they know the way to somewhere. And
it's a naturally acquired skill,
I don't even know. Maybe somebody did it to them, and they have...
So it's acquired immune deficiency syndrome,
bam. They know the way, they know the solution. But if they tell you half truth so that you can go and suffer like they suffered, you know, or, you know, we're just not altogether open to helping pull out the next person, because everybody wants to somehow be one up over the other. In some circles, it is beginning to change because they have realized that when they get to the top and they are the only ones there, one, it's truly lonely. Two, they end up having to still handle a lot of liabilities themselves.
And then the PhD syndrome sets in, pull him down, isn't it?
Exactly.
Now, we're going to talk about something I promised people would say, we'll discuss today, which is, are we all gold diggers? Before, let me go back to the WhatsApp number, 09092172973. I take that again, 09092172973, and you can also get us on Twitter at Classic FM 973. Vida, are we all gold diggers? And let me give you a context to this using some kind of saying. Not just, it's not a proverb, but it's a saying. It says the female toad said that the husband is so sweet that when she got married, she carried her husband permanently on her back. So in this context, is this love or is this bold gold digging? Because, what people see, the optics is that you are carrying your husband on your back because you love him, isn't it? You love him dearly, but we know.
We know.
So is it gold digging in this context, or is it love?
We'll say on the streets, on the language of the streets, if you know, you know.
Okay, so we'll take a break. Please ruminate around that question. Think about it, because I'm going to go back, because I promised listeners that we are going to talk about gold digging today.
All right.
So we go on break. Listeners, please hang in there. The better part is coming.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Fantastic. In case you didn't hear, and I'm talking to the I'm talking to the listeners out there. I just read it out again. The female toad said that the husband is so sweet that when she got married, she carried her husband permanently on the back. Let me sweeten that with another one. Another line says, the vulture and the kite do not scramble for food. The vulture is a scavenger, the kite a predator. So how do you relate this to love and genuine wealth creation in terms of collaboration?
Doc, you have brought out a PhD in the sayings of ancient rabbis.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just say this. I think sometime last year, I actually did a conversation on gold diggers.
Okay.
Because when we hear gold diggers, there seems to be some negative energy.
Yeah.
Everybody is repulsed in some way. Nobody wants to have anything, quote and unquote, to do with gold diggers. But, Doc, let me just admit, I'm a gold digger.
Are you?
I am.
Oh, wow.
I am. I am a gold digger.
Well, if you can accept that, I'm sure listeners would like to know why you did that, so that they queue behind you or change their lane, isn't it?
I'm a gold digger because at the end of the day, everybody that I relate to possesses some value that I want to benefit from, or I am benefiting from, or I have benefited from. Even our employers are gold diggers.
Are they?
Yes. Okay. That is why they put out an ad, an opportunity for a job. 1 million people apply for it, and they start sifting. They start digging for who has the most value. Which talent is really a talent? Which one is just rough around the edges, and with some training they can, extract so much more out of that person? Employees are also gold diggers. When we apply to companies, I assure you that back in the day, and I'm sure till now, if a company like Shell, NLNG, Chevron, solid financial institutions put out an ad, the people that will rush there are rushing there not because they just like the brand. No.
So they're gold diggers.
They're gold diggers. They want to go to the employers that have the benefits on offer that profit them the most. So anybody who is going around saying they don't like gold diggers or that they are not gold diggers,
So they don't have strong relationship with the truth.
They are lying. They are lying.
Fantastic. Somebody just sent, I didn't quite pick the name, but he's saying the difference between rich and wealthy really is a comparison of their lifestyle and mindset. Yes, I agree with that. And he's trying to relate, to, what is this anyhow? What matters is how much the individual earns relative to how they spend. Meaning that the spend culture can determine whether you eventually land as a wealthy man or a rich man. Fantastic. So, I'll go back to gold digging, but let me deal with the issue of inheritance. Now, money, wealth, is spirits, and the typical village person. How do they understand wealth? Let's go back to the village. That man in the village, he's suddenly you are rich. He thinks you are not supposed to. Does he think this is spiritually backed, or does it relate it to hard work? How do these people in the village, and I'm talking about typical Nigerian villages, relate to wealth?
Yeah. Doc, I have found out that if we check, and this is not a Vida thing alone, one big money, maybe it's bonus, maybe it's even just salary, or maybe you did one small, freelance something and the money hit your account. If you don't have a plan for that money, or a budget, or a firm financial character, it is miraculous how at that same time there's a message coming from somebody, how somebody is sick or somebody needs house rent or something. I don't know how it happens, but it has happened to so many people, and I'm sure the listeners can relate. And again, that's because I would say money, wealth in this case, is a spirit.
So can we talk about the fluidity of money?
Yes.
The fluidity of wealth.
Of wealth.
Yeah.
Because what is important to you in terms of wealth for somebody who is up and coming?
Okay.
They are big on, I want to save, I want to put money aside, or I want to travel, I don't want that exposure. Some people, I want to get a ACCA, ICANN, chartered something or the other. And then at some point, when one is also ill, the part of the wealth that is now important to the person is spend whatever it costs to get me my health back.
Yeah, because if you see something greater than your farmland, you sell a yam ban.
There you go. You will do whatever. So wealth in itself is a very fluid conversation.
Okay.
And again, another way to consider the fluidity of wealth is at this particular time you invested in something and it worked per time. But at this season, there's another opportunity you should explore. You can't sit still. What does
that mean?
It means that you don't stay in one place to look at the masquerade.
So you climb
You move around.
Okay.
You move around. You explore other opportunities. You pay attention to what's going on in the world. What's going on in Ogun State. What's going on in Aba. It may find a way of being relevant, to either enhancing your wealth portfolio or at least preventing it from shrinking.
So you're talking about opportunities, because
Absolutely.
I hear you say, you either create wealth or you fill a gap in need.
Yes.
That's where you build a platform for wealth creation.
You need to. You're either finding an extra means of income, you are plugging the leaks, and you're definitely doing all you can to make sure that you spread, you hedge into the future.
Fantastic. So that takes me to legacy. Because I've been itching, but I left it for the last quarter of this conversation. So what is the connection between wealth and legacy?
There are many wealthy people who have died and their memories have died along with them. They were just very rich. Nobody, first of all, maybe knew who they were. And they died, and that's it. Solomon Gandhi.
Okay.
However, there is a type of wealth that you get into. And sometimes it doesn't even need to be so huge to start off. You may start by, doing some donation here. What you're doing is you're trying to make sure that you're impacting lives. So some people may want to actually make it a known name, but you want it to be that you have a track record of, that you improved the lives of either your community, physical community where you stay, your community where you grew up, or the community which you're interested in, which can be virtual, which can be young people in a certain industry. It could be the underprivileged. It could be, the physically handicapped or physically challenged. You want to make sure that you're leaving a legacy that outlives you, so to speak. You want your wealth to do stuff for other people, and that is a very, very fundamental and pivotal way of making sure that wealth is spread across.
Okay, so that's the nexus. We have a Fola here. He can't wait. He's okay. And he says he's virtually begging me, but he's not lobbying me. He said, I would like to leave Davida to leave her details. No, Fola, you go through me. you go through me. So is Fola trying to gold dig here?
Well, Fola should please dig away. There's a lot of value.
Okay, I take this. Fantastic. So Fola will find a way now, seriously speaking, we'll find a way to give out those details so that you can reach Davida Echetabu.
Yes.
Now, every culture, Vida, and I mean every culture in Nigeria and wider Africa has a name that translates to children being superior to money. So, you know that we tend to do that, giving names that are, that have relationship with money. So that and they virtually say that children mean wealth. Can you speak to this? Why do we go that route? Is it just wishful thinking, or is it something fundamental about that?
Okay, so let me even just say that one name that comes to mind, Nwakego.
What does that mean?
The child is more than money.
Can that be true in today's context, in this true circumstances of today? Does Nwakego still pass?
Definitely.
It does?
Yes.
Please
because
explain.
At the end of the day, wealth and money, whatever value they have, was ascribed to them from a human being. It's the value that a society places on wealth, money, trinkets, trimmings, and all the things that, flash. If a society is not significantly driven by financial and things that finances can buy, wealth in that society would be tame. If you're in a society where it is, dog eat dog, whatever it takes, I must hit it, I must hammer, and all, then it also reflects. So a child will always control and be above and have dominion over every other thing. Yes.
Fantastic. Now, I hope you are getting ready, because we'll take your proverb and we'll take your your favorite song for the week, which we'll play. But maybe I just take, because there's a lot on the screen, maybe I just take one more. He's saying, can you build your wealth around a name, or must it be financial? A quick mention here was Fela and Mandela, and like, again, I go to the proverbs. Some people either give you a road or they give you a cow to choose. If you take a cow, when you start eating it, you finish it. But if you take a road, when you travel, you never finish it.
Yes.
So do you build legacy? What is it? Wealth built on cash, part of it, or do you build something that people can live on by way of legacy? Is it a choice, or is it a coincidence, or you can achieve both, really?
I think that it should be concurrent.
Okay,
it
but
is
it deliberate? There's an architecture around that. Can you build that?
You can.
Okay.
You can. I mean, a lot of people grew up from very modest backgrounds. Their surnames meant nothing. Their first names did not even, show up at all. But either by the skill of their hands or their feet, let's use footballers or basketballers in this case, they have now become household names. They have started earning significantly as well. And they have also been very intentional about, their behavior, how they appear in public. So they are building a credibility.
I hear you, Vida. So the core word there is intentional.
Very.
You have to be intentional so that you build that, because if it is just wealth by way of money, then you have probably chosen the cow. And
Yes.
if you start eating a cow, you'll finish the meat.
Yes.
But if you build a road,
And part of
your
it will
children,
even go bad
your
because I
children
don't know
will
how you're
travel
going to preserve
to and
the
fro
cow.
that road probably for generations.
Yes.
Now, there's a message from the UK, from Ade. It says, I'm really enjoying this, your program, even though I'm at work in the UK. Your guest is brilliant. I want her details. No. Then you go through me again. Please ask her, blah, 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 if investing in shares is still profitable. Well, I'm sure if you listened all through, you would have seen rationale that will be behind yes or no for that question. Now, Vida, what will be your proverb for the week?
My proverb is in Igbo.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can totally qualify it as a proverb, but it's in Igbo and I'll explain.
Is it a saying?
I think it's more of a saying, but it packs a punch in my opinion.
Okay. What is it?
Akunemeko bisike.
Let me make an attempt on akunemeko bisike.
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean?
Akunemeko bisike means that wealth gives you guts.
Wealth gives you guts.
Yes.
Okay.
And it could be wealth in terms of finances. When you know that, quote and unquote, money is not a concern, there are certain things you can experiment. You can launch in and try out things
So
because...
You go beyond the hygiene things.
Well, yes. On the other hand, for people that maybe it's not a monetary conversation, an opportunity comes up for somebody to travel, to close a deal, and you don't have anybody to leave your children with.
Okay.
You pass it. You pass on it.
All right. Fantastic. You've given a context to that. Please, your song for the week, please, as we wrap up. Listeners, next week we are going to deal with travels, vacation. Now, in the context of Nigeria today, is it a must? Is it a reasonable thing to do? We are going to tie it to economics. We are going to tie it to the reality of life, business, cost of living. Is that decision a rational one going forward? Travel and life next week.
Doc, so are you seriously not going to give them my contact details?
Well, if they talk to me nicely.
They are talking to you nice. Let me just announce my website.
Your song, please.
Okay. So my song for the week is CC Winans' Goodness of God. Yeah?
Thank you very much. Let's take that website. You know, I'm normally kind and even kinder when it's a Sunday.
You're very wonderful.
Your website, please.
My website is fourthavenuegroup.com. That's the number 4, not the spelling. 4thavenuegroup.com. Visit there. You would have an opportunity to have a free 15 minutes consultation with me. My schedule is quite full, but go ahead, schedule it. There are limited spots, and you would have the opportunity of bouncing off a lot of questions. 15 minutes is a lot of time. And
fantastic. Just know, listener, that in football there are agents.
Yes.
So in this case, I am the agent, and I'm not a small agent by any means.
They are going to bring the offering to you.
Thank you very much. And have a great day ahead and week ahead, you listeners. We'll take your song now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You said that?
Yes, CC Winans' Goodness of God.
All the best. Have a great week ahead of you.
Thank you.
And that's it on The Discourse with Dr. Ken.